This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, it's October 12th, 2020, and we are holding the regular meeting of the Dayton Utility Service Board. We are holding this meeting by phone because of the COVID-19 pandemic and in compliance with the governor's executive orders. This meeting is open for the public to listen in real time and via recording afterward, and an option has been provided for residents to speak during the meeting on agenda items. Present on the phone line are our town attorney, Reed Murtaugh, clerk treasurer, Michelle Freeword, town marshal, Scott Taylor, town manager, Mark Harlow, and members of the town council who will now identify themselves by roll call. Ron Kohler.
Here.
Dan Kiger.
Here.
Carla Snodgrass.
Here.
Ashley Stevenson.
Here.
And I'm Jen Minnico, so all 5 council members are present. Also on the line, we have Michelle Watts from BF&S Engineering, representing the town of Dayton, Chad James from HWC Engineering, representing Truck Country, Indiana, and Clem Coons from T-Bird Engineering, representing the Carr Family Farm. First up is the utility adjustment report. Does anybody have any questions for Michelle? Okay, I make a motion to approve the utility adjustment report dated 9/1/2020 to 9/30/2020.
Second it.
There's been a motion made by Jen and seconded by Ron to approve the utility adjustment report from 9/1 to 9/30. Is there any further discussion before we take a roll call vote? Okay, Ron?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the motion passes 5-0. Okay, for the utility report, I'll turn it over to our town manager, Mark Harlow. Mark?
Thank you, Jen. Hopefully all of you have a copy of my report in front of you. The first item we're going to discuss this evening is the Truck Indiana development. As Jen mentioned, Chad James from HWC Engineering and Michelle Watts from BF&S are on the line. So we'll just, the purpose of this is to answer any questions or concerns you might have, and then Michelle with BF&S had made a recommendation for approval of the project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chad James.
Yeah. So since the last time we met, we've gone through the process with BFS and submitted documents plus the construction documents, and have obtained approval. After our final submittal, there were a couple of additional comments with Hein Drive and utility connections, and we went ahead and made those as well to try and obtain approval for this project during this meeting. So happy to answer any questions you guys might have had in reviewing the plans.
This is Michelle. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a clarification, not really clarification, but yes, we did review the drainage submittal and they meet all of your MS4 requirements and Rule 5 requirements. There weren't any questions on that after the second submittal. And then they did recently move the sewer and gas lines down to Hein Drive. So I don't know if you guys were able to see those updated plans that were submitted Friday, but I wanted to let you know that was done too. So if you have any questions, I'm sure Chad can answer them.
I just had a question if the
Carla?
Hello? Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to clarify if those changes were reflected in a new utility service agreement And if so, if we had received that and I just missed getting it in front of me.
There's no new utility service agreement. The utility service agreement is based on acreage.
I'm sorry,
so,
you broke up. Based on what?
On the acreage. So the utility service agreement basically says you're serving that property. So no changes had to happen to the utility service agreement. They just changed where the connection point was.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Michelle, could you explain the utility service agreement a bit? Is there anything else besides what you just said?
The utility service agreement is basically saying, well, as utilities were brought to the town of Dayton, the land around there was assessed to basically help pay for what was brought in. So there's a per acre water and sewer fee. And so the utility service agreement is basically saying that the town's going to provide water and sewer to this 20-ish acres. Sorry, I don't know the exact number. And they're going to pay a certain fee per acre back to the town for infrastructure that was already put in.
Here's what I found.
So how can we, how do I word this? Like, how can we be sure that the plans that they changed aren't going to change again?
Because you don't have to provide service. I mean, what they submit is what they have to install, or else you won't give them water and sewer.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with drainage.
Michelle?
Yes.
So on the new blueprints, which I couldn't bring up on the computer, they have the smooth line up there on Yost Drive moved down to Hind Drive, and the gas will come in right on the north edge of Hind Drive. Both of them will come in there, right? Nothing will be up on Yost Drive, crossing Yost Drive.
That is correct. The sewer they have coming straight down and tying on the north side of Hind Drive. The gas, they have to come down their eastern property line and go over to the gas line. But yes, that is correct.
Okay, good.
Michelle, this is Ashley Stevenson. By hooking into Hind Drive for sewage, do we still have reserve capacity for other businesses that may locate along the Hind Drive stretch?
Yes, I believe you do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Chad, this is Marlo. I can't recall seeing anything from NDOT about approval to release stormwater into the NDOT drainage way. Was that cleared up, or and I've just not seen that, or?
So we don't have the permit yet. We're waiting on the contractor bond in order to get the drainage permit, but I can send you an email from NDOT stating that we can discharge into their swale.
Okay, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah.
Michelle, this is Reed. I have a question on the utility service agreement under sanitary sewers. The sentence that says sanitary sewer service for the proposed development shall be provided at the point of connection located on the east side of the development along the proposed Yost Drive extension. Is that language still match the plans?
No, you caught an error. No, it should say that needs to be changed to the north side of Hind Drive. I will make that change tomorrow and send over a new one if that's okay.
Yes, that'd be great.
Sorry about that.
Also, on the water supply, it indicates that it's coming off of Hind Drive, so I think they're just switched around.
that might have happened. Yes, I'll get that
Yeah.
switched. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
And then Michelle, there's no upsizing needed, correct?
No, all of this is on their private property. They don't need to upsize anything.
Okay.
This is all just private sewer for themselves.
Got it, thanks.
So this is Mark. So go ahead, Michelle.
I was just saying, I think that needs to be voted on, that the board members can sign this contingent on me moving the 2 access points in the language, if that's okay, or something like that. Reed, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct. We just need to approve the changes and then authorize Ron to sign, or do they all need to sign? Let me check.
They all sign it.
All
They all
sign.
sign it.
Yeah. So yeah, just need a motion to sign the amended contract.
So before we get to that point, I just want to explain the utility service agreement just a bit more to the town council members. So for every acre of their development, they pay the town $1,800 and for water, and for every acre, they pay the town $1,200 per acre for wastewater. So their development is 25.28 acres. So for the privilege of hooking into the existing infrastructure and to recoup some of the costs the town had when it was installed, the utility agreement indicates that they would be paying into the town $75,804.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. So, is there any more questions for Chad or Michelle before we move on to approval of the utility service agreement?
I have a question. I was trying to look and see if I could find the page that I noticed it on, but I was going through all those pages, and just out of curiosity, one of the pages, and I wish I had the number for you, I think it was showing like where the dumpster was going to be and something else, and there was an arrow pointing to a spot that said portalet, and is that a toilet? Like, is that a porta potty?
Yeah,
sorry,
so
That's
for
just for during construction.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So I guess there's 2 things that would need to happen. One is acceptance of BF&S's recommendation to accept the project, and 2 is approval of the utility service agreement. So I'm not exactly how that all should be worded or brought about, but that's the 2 items we need to proceed with then.
Do we need a motion to go ahead with the FNS's recommendation? Is that what you're saying?
2 motions. So 1 to approve the contract or project, sorry, and then 2 to approve the utility service agreement with the revisions made by Michelle.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve to go with the recommendation of the FNS and approve the project for Truck Country.
I second it.
With the additions, the changes that we just talked about, right?
I think that goes with the motion for the utility service agreement.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve the project. Is there any further discussion before we take a roll call vote? Okay, Ron,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ashley.
Yes.
Okay, so that motion passes 5-0. So I make a motion to approve the utility service agreement contingent upon moving those two access points that Reed and Mark pointed out.
I second it.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve the utility service agreement contingent upon moving those two access points. Is there any further discussion before we take a roll call vote? Okay, Ron,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so that motion passes 5-0.
Chad, I've got a question for you. When is your proposed start date?
I believe October 26th.
So here just 2 weeks, you're hoping to be breaking ground on it?
I believe so.
Did you get my voicemail today about the fire suppression requirements on that?
Yes, I did get that. Pages 6
Okay.
of.
I just want to make sure that, yeah, we all want to be on the same page as far as what our development guide shows on the backflow devices and all that kind of stuff. And I know that's part of that package.
Absolutely. Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Chad or Michelle?
This is Michelle. I have a comment. I am revising the document now, and I will send it to Michelle, the clerk, for the town to sign, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I can print it off tonight and put it on the back table.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, well, Chad, Michelle, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to moving ahead with the project. Be sure to feel free to contact me with any questions, and be sure and keep me in the loop.
Will do. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Chad,
Thank you.
Chad, are you still
Okay.
on?
Yeah, I'm still on.
The utility service agreement fees will need to be paid too before you start construction, and the bonds in place.
Performance bond?
The bond stated in the drainage review letter.
Gotcha. Okay. We will get that taken care of.
Okay. Well, with that, if that's all, we'll go ahead and move on to the next topic.
All right. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Michelle.
Okay. So next on the agenda is the Carr Family Farm and T-Bird Engineering. I sent all of you an email on September 29th that I received from Clem Coons representing T-Bird Engineering, and it's requesting a decision providing utilities to the Carr property that some of which is within the town limits and some that is not. So with that, I'll turn it over to Clem.
Thank you, Mark. I think, as Mark indicated, you've been provided with the exhibit. The Carr family farm, as you all know, previously owned the land where the truck country is being developed. And so this is the remnant portion of land that they own north of the truck country all the way up to Haggerty Lane. And in anticipation of further development demand, or there's nothing known at this present time, but they're trying to prepare for it. They need to gain assurance that they can obtain sewer and water for their approximately 133 acres there. As Mark referenced, there's only about 35 acres that's currently in the town of Dayton right now. The remnant of 98 acres plus or minus is in Tippecanoe County. So it's not annexed by anyone there. Yeah, I guess that's kind of the summary of it, the exhibit and email request. Essentially, we are asking for the town to either state affirmatively they will or will not provide service for sewer and water. And ultimately, of course, the question would be, what is the capacity of that sewer and water? But, you know, having the availability of sewer and water is the key first piece. I think that's all I would have to say, and be happy to answer any questions, but we are asking for the town's direction, or our willingness, I guess I'd say, to provide that utility.
This is Ron. There's two questions. One is the property inside the town limits, and one is the property outside the town limits. The way I see it, the property inside the town limits, we provide water and sewage to, providing, I hope there's no commitments on that property, hoping that it's not a state penitentiary or a trash transfer station or something like that, since we never did put commitments on it. The land outside the town limits is a 98 acres. And I personally want to do a lot more research on it before we decide. So there's two questions. You can't lump all that ground together as one piece of property, because it isn't one piece. It's two different entities.
This is Ashley Stevenson. I've got a question for Reed Murtaugh. Reed, in your email, if I read it correctly, should we make a commitment to provide water and sewer to that property, at some point in time, that property would need to be annexed into the town of Dayton. Is that correct?
What's your question, Ashley? If it has to be annexed in order to provide it?
Looking through your email that you sent us, it would indicate that when the town of Dayton provides commitment for water and sewer, that we need that property to be annexed into the town city limits at some point in time. Is that correct?
Well, I believe if you are going to provide utilities, you would want to annex it, yes.
Correct. And isn't that spelled out in our town ordinance, that in order for us to provide the utilities, that it needs to be annexed into the town of Dayton?
Correct. Either annexed or have a contractual agreement with the property owner. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Well, anybody going to talk here? I think we ought to hold off on this and do some research. It just popped on us in the last couple of weeks. And that's a big question here on what happens north of our town limits. As everybody knows, we asked for them to annex it and they refused to annex it. So therefore that's set up, and then they went ahead and pushed through an I-3 rezoning against all the 5 council members' wishes and against the letters and everything to downtown. So I think it sort of, we have to look at the whole picture here and get some other opinions on what we can legally do, what we can't legally do, and put it off for a little bit to decide here, because they put us in a really bad, unusual situation by forcing some things to come to play by what they did. So I would, if it takes a motion or whatever, I'd like to hold off so we do more research on this.
I think in Reed Merkel's email to the council, it's it's quite clear. We do have a contract with Lafayette to provide for that area. The petitioner has to meet certain requirements, and one of them we just discussed. Either we need to give them a letter, or they need to be annexed into the town of Dayton. I don't know what other research you're wanting to do, but I think Reed's email to the town board was quite clear.
I think we
actually it's section 150.046 of the town code that you're referencing, and it states that prior to rendering water or sewer utility service to properties outside the current town corporate limits, the landowner of their property to be served shall jointly cooperate with the town to be annexed or enter into an agreement where the landowner and his or her successors in interest waive their right to object to annexation.
Thank you. Yeah, and so maybe that's a point that we need to talk to the petitioner about here in the near future.
Yeah, Clem, can you speak to your client's position on annexation tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose probably not in as great of detail, but I thank you for clarifying that a little bit there. The town code does not preclude the town from offering utility service to someone outside the town limits. What the code requires is that the landowner that's outside the town limits would have to agree to not object to an annexation. So I don't think that it's required to annex, if I understand that correctly. And I think it's pretty common that that you would not be able to object to an annexation if you were entering into a utility service agreement for a given area. So I think that's understood from our standpoint that if the town is going to annex this area, and they are willing to provide sanitary and water service, that the landowner, the petitioner, would not object to the town annexing them.
Okay, well, I prepared a petition for annexation and have sent it on in the spring of this year and have not received a response.
I think obviously a key is if you are being annexed or in an area that's being annexed, I think it has to be imperative that utility service would be assured or provided.
This is Jen. So before the rezone, I was prepared and agreeable to annexing, but now that it's been rezoned, I would like to take the matter under advisement.
I feel the same way, Jen. I think we ought to wait and take it under advisement, do some research of our own instead of hastily jumping into this.
I would agree with that.
This is Stan. I agree with that.
Okay, I think I started a motion. Reed, do we need a motion to say we want to hold off on this till we do more research on it, make a decision later?
You don't need to do a motion for that.
Okay. Well, then we'll look into it, do it, and we'll do some research and talk about it later, future meetings.
Do you have an anticipated timeline on that?
It's according to what research shows and how long it takes and who's responsive to it. You know, if we ask for an annexation first and you guys refuse. So, I mean, you know, it takes time on some of this. We'll just have to look at all the variables here. But like I say, you guys brought it up 2 weeks ago. So we'll go from here and act on it as soon as we can.
Sure. Yeah, that's no problem. I'm just trying to summarize or be able to summarize back to our client.
Yeah.
This is Jen. Can I ask one more question? Reed had asked you about your client's willingness to annex or whatever. What could you say about your client's willingness to rezone it back to ag or to something more desirable for the town?
I guess I'd have a hard time answering that for them, but I've never known people to take a land to a less desirable zoning, I guess. I doubt if that's an interest, but I'm speaking out of my perception, I guess, at this point, not out of fact of what they would say.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's zoned to ag, it's not needing sewer and water very readily, so.
Yeah.
Jen, I think that's a very good question. And just so everybody knows, part of Cindy and I's land years ago was rezoned from general business back to R1, which took it and devalued it by 2/3 of the money. But we did it because it was for the betterment of Dayton. So I think there's things that I think, Jen, that's a good question. It'd be nice if that could be done, but just my thoughts.
Okay, Clem, have you got any other questions or ideas before we move on?
No, I think that's good. I guess, will you kind of keep me up to date then, I guess, on, you know, how things develop or how they're coming along, I guess, that's all.
Yes, I will, and you same on your part, and keep me in the loop on how things are unfolding on your end.
Okay. Yes. No, thank you very much. That gets us going for now.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Clem.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move on with the utility report. The next item for discussion under water. As I'd mentioned previously, the state required 2019 water audit was submitted, and on September 17th, I received an email back from the Indiana Finance Authority approving our audit. So it's an annual thing. We'll be doing that each year, but of course, the first one's always the most time consuming because you're trying to learn as you go, but at least we made it through this one and it's been accepted by the state. The next item is the Baker Farm water meter pits. So there are approximately 55 to 60 lots out there that will be getting ready to be ready for development. Per our development guide, the water mains are in and the 1-inch copper line is run to the dual meter pits, just like we have in town where 2 houses are served off a 1 meter pit. So that's been ran, what I call the splitter, so you can feed 2 houses off of the copper line. Those are installed. The problem that we have is that system is now under pressure. And with winter coming, you probably haven't noticed at your own homes, but those cast iron meters with 2-3 inch holes in them where you would put the antenna for meter reading. Well, of course, right now, with no meters in place and no antennas in place and wind on, I have a concern about the wind coming whistling across there this winter and freezing up those water lines. So we plug or cap off those antenna access points in those meter lids. So I have 3 options for you. The first option is to purchase their plastic plugs, and for cost estimates, I estimated there's 60 of them. But so for these plastic plugs, which we would be putting in there temporarily, it's about $500. If we just buy themselves, so we buy all 60 antennas, and we just go ahead and install those antennas to keep the wind from entering down into the meter pits. The purchase of those antennas would be approximately $1,850. Now, if we went ahead and bought all 60 water meters and antennas and just had everything on ready to go, of course, I wouldn't install the meters until a lot was developed, but I'd go ahead and put the antennas in. But the cost for the 60 water meters and antennas is $16,800. So I guess I'm looking for some guidance on whether you just want to purchase the plastic plugs for $500, just the antennas for $1,850, or go ahead and have on hand the water meters and antennas for $16,800.
Mark,
This is Ashley. Do we have any surplus of meters currently?
Yeah, I always keep about a half dozen on hand, just as an example would be a new house was built over there on east of Maine. So I always have a half dozen on hand in case one needs replaced or something gets built. So I do have probably 6 or 8 of them out at the shop.
When we order water meters, can we get them in a relatively short time, a couple of weeks or something, or are they further out in production than that?
Nope, we can get them in a relatively short time. The antenna keep on hand at Peru all the time. The meters, they would be probably 5 to 10 days out.
Is there much of a discount when you buy quantities of meters?
There is not.
Thank you.
Mark, this is Jen. Oh, sorry, John.
Yes.
I was just going to ask, is this something that we will be reimbursed for?
No. Well, we will in the sense, so when someone buys or build a home, for the privilege of tapping on to the town's water supply, they pay, I believe it's $425, and then $305 in addition to that for tapping on to the sanitary sewer. So yeah, we recoup our cost and then some, but it just takes time.
But
Mark?
if it was winter, then we wouldn't have these expenses.
Say that again.
If it were not winter, would we have these expenses?
Well, I think we would, in the sense that I don't think it's reasonable to expect that all 60 lots would be developed within 12 months. So it's a necessary expense, no matter how you look at it.
But I guess I don't understand why it would be our expense and not their expense.
The water mains and the service lines and the meter pits are the developer's expense, but we control the water, so the water meter and the antenna that goes with it, that is our expense. Of course, we then charge the homeowner for it as that home is being built and water and sewer services being bought on.
Mark,
Yes.
it seems to me like this should be the builder's responsibility, that if they're building something in the late fall, and it looks to me like down there, they might not get a house up till next spring. So why don't they pay for these things, and then we take it off of there later, we pay them back as they sell each house or something, and we have to energize the water to the line. Otherwise, technically, it could be 2 years before they build a house, or go out and buy a $2 bale of straw and put 60 bales of straw out there to cover those holes, and you've got $120 expense. But I think this is something the builders need to do. They're the ones that are building the project, and they're the ones doing it in the winter, so they should be responsible for it.
So how did you do Deerfield?
Well,
with Deerfield, we didn't have we did have the touch meters when we did Deerfield. So Deerfield's when we got into touch read. So we bought all the antennas and all that stuff for those meters.
Well, we'd have to look back and see what time of year it was done, but that was 30 years ago too, and a lot of things have changed. But this should have been said a long time ago and put in the whole plans as one of the costs. So who's going to snowplow their roads with who's going to snowplow their roads with no houses back there this winter? Are we going to be responsible for that, or light the area up because they don't have a house there yet? They don't have I would think they would be responsible for the stuff until they start selling the houses and get a quantity of houses in there.
We know we're going to have to buy antennas regardless, sooner or later. I think we need to go ahead and buy the antennas now, stick them in the holes, and you go on. As far as plowing roads and stuff, you're not going to be plowing any roads until the town takes over assumes maintenance on them.
When do we assume maintenance on the roads?
I don't know the answer to that. Mark may know that answer.
Well, they have those roads then by November, December. They could easily ask us to take over the maintenance on them when there's nothing there. And I disagree with you on spending $17,000 now for a builder that didn't plan this.
I said antennas only for $1,850.
Even $1,800.
Mark, how sturdy is the antennas, or would they be subject to be damaged during construction?
Oh, I wouldn't think so. I mean, if they were, that means the whole meter pit was damaged, and then it would be up to that developer to replace it. So I don't think there's a concern for them being during construction. I just don't look for that to be it. But of course, it could be. You get someone that's out there careless, but they're all marked and they can see where they're at. And whenever I meet with a contractor before he starts building, we would point out where the meter pit is and where the sewer tap is. I just don't want a line freezing up and then I'm dumping a bunch of water. I'm trying to look after for what's best for the town.
I think we should plug them and not put the expensive antennas out there until they need them.
And and that's fine. That's fine. However you got, I can put like Ron mentioned, I can put a bale of straw over every meter pit. That'd keep the wind out. I can put these plugs in. I can address it however you want to. I just want to make sure they don't freeze up on me. That's all I'm trying to accomplish.
I agree with Stanley. You could plug them or plug them with straw to at least see the bale of straw and not be running over them. You got a lot of bare land out there. It's really hard to see where those things.
Yeah, and either way is fine with me. I just looking for some guidance on what to do because we're already in mid-October.
I don't know where you buy $2 bells of straw that bells up for $5. We know we're going to need antennas out there eventually. Buying $500 worth of plugs is a third of the cost of the antennas anyway. I think we need to buy the antennas for the $1,850, and then as people move in, if we've only got 6 meters in stock, you're going to be buying quantities of meters before probably too much longer anyway. So, bite the bullet, buy the antennas now, be done with that part of it, and move on. Buying straw for $5 a bale and labor and hauling it and all that stuff's a lot of hassle.
Yeah. Well, I'll compromise, Ashley, and how about doing the plugs for the 500? We don't even know. Do you guys even know when the first house is going to be built? Is it going to be, or can we turn the water off? If the houses aren't going to be built, can we turn the water off going down there? You got shut-offs. Can't you shut them off and drain it?
No, you
can't. No, you can't drain it. No, you can't drain. The lines are charged up. There's no way to drain them.
Okay. I thought we had shut-offs every so many 1,000 foot.
Yeah.
When you have
we do. We can, we shut off valves, but that doesn't drain them.
Yeah. Okay.
Something else, as far as when they're going to be building, I mean, I believe Mark told me that they're going to start paving not this week, but the following week. I suspect that they'll be turning that over to the developer as far as all the developing work being done, probably here on a pretty short basis. When this project started, they said they wanted to be building houses out there this winter, and I don't know for a fact, but I think Mark could probably say, but I think they're probably still on that same timeline.
They are. They're hoping to, but the important next step will be a recommendation from BF&S Engineering that the town accepts the project. Until that happens, and they've went through the checklist of everything that needs to be done. Until that happens, of course, nothing will be built. But we're getting very close. I would say that probably in November, BF&S will be looking at that very seriously about, okay, they've met all these requirements, and even after we accept it, there's a 3-year maintenance bond. So if there's something would happen 3 years, whether it would be a crack in a street or a curb or a water leak or whatever it would be, we have a 3-year insurance policy even after.
Mark,
Yes.
and have you talked to Malakis at all to see how he feels about it being his responsibility?
His responsibility for what?
To take care of these open meter pits, or however you phrased it.
No, but just to give you some background on it, is that in Lafayette, which is kind of what the norm is around here, in Lafayette, they don't even require the developers to put in the meter pits. So I pushed on that a bit and said, look, in Dayton, we require you to not only put in the water main, but to make the service tap and to put in the meter pits with the splitter for 2 meters. He was not accustomed to that, but he did agree to do that. So I think that we've gotten what we've asked for to this point anyway. But no, I have not approached him about the putting plugs or antennas on like that.
Mark, is that something you could ask him? And that might solve it. Just say if he would purchase the plugs, see if he'd do it. He might say yes. He says yes on quite a few things.
I could ask him.
Yeah, why don't we ask?
The problem is if he says no, and then I have to wait till November to get approval to do something on our end. You know, I just don't want to push it out too far. But yeah, I'll be glad to. I'll call him tomorrow and just ask him if he'd be willing to buy these plugs.
Remember, we're going to have a meeting next Monday, and we could sneak that in real quick at the first of it, and just if he doesn't. But
okay, all right. So I'll ask him. I don't think it's seeing how the town gets reimbursed for the cost of the meters and antennas by the homeowner. I don't think it would be a good idea to ask that of him, but I think it would be somewhat reasonable to at least purchase the plugs to put in there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
So next we'll move on to wastewater. Twice a year we have our contractor, FJF, come in and do, they clean the lift stations, check all the floats, do amp draws on all the motors. The past 2 years, including this last spring, it's cost $1,500 per cleaning, and that's for all of them. So I'd like to go ahead and schedule the fall maintenance of the lift stations and cleanings. So I don't know that I need approval for it, making you aware of it, but if you'd like to make a motion to approve the fall maintenance of the lift stations, that would be fine also.
How much was that, Mark?
$1,500.
That's for all of them, you said?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
And there's 4 stations, plus we do the cleaning and maintenance on the one down at We Engineering also.
This is something we always
go ahead and do a motion.
I make a motion that we get our fall maintenance done on lift stations for approximately $1,500.
Second it.
There's been a motion made by Ashley and seconded by Ron to get the fall lift station maintenance done for approximately $1,500. Is there any other discussion before we take a roll call vote?
I think that we ought to try to put this on an annual schedule and not have to vote on it every year. It's something that has to be done. We just do it.
And that would be fine. I think maybe I'm a little overcautious about asking for approval for normal maintenance, but I guess I just don't want to be viewed as I'm hiding something, I guess you'd say.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Ron,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so that motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you very much. The next item is, and I'm just making you aware of this, twice a year, the town is required to inspect all the grease traps and grit and oil chambers at different businesses around town. That's part of our industrial sewer permit agreement with Lafayette Renew or Lafayette Wastewater. I'm just letting you know you're doing the fall inspections here this month. The next item under streets is the salt box and spreader. So for the last couple of weeks, Stan's been helping me try to get this salt box and spreader running that's on the Ford dump truck. And we've got power back to it, but there's something, we don't know if it's a broken wire or if it's the control module on that. So we can purchase the control module for $500 and install it ourselves. But if we purchase that and then that isn't it, then we've spent $500. If we take it to a garage, whether it's what's it called, row equipment, or there's another one you had mentioned, Stan.
Rigs.
Rigs. If we take it to either one of those, it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up with $1,000 in it. So, Stan, I guess I'll lean on you for a little bit of guidance on this. Do you think we ought to just that, or do you think we ought to take it to a shop?
I've done some more research online, and it seems to be not a very common problem, but it is a problem that control box goes out. There's these different forums I looked at, and several of them expressed yes, they had a problem with it. And so, like I said, there's places we can buy it for, around $500. And I think you said you called Row, and it was $700 there if we bought it. So and I have no problem doing further troubleshooting and replacing this. Not a hard thing to do.
So you're leaning towards let's go ahead and buy the whole module and give it a shot?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Any questions or comments from other board members on that?
Sounds like the way to go.
Okay. Stan, so we need to get together and you let me know where that site is to get it for that better price, and I'll make the contacts and we'll get that ordered then.
Okay, no problem. I'll hook up with you tomorrow sometime.
Okay. The last item I have is the community crossing list. So before the November meeting, I'm going to get together with Stan and be putting together the list of streets that we would like to apply for a grant to repair or repave, whatever's needed. And I guess Stan and I will present that list at the November monthly board meeting. In between now and then, as me and Stan are working on this list, which will primarily use our PASER ratings, which is a rating of all the streets in town. We'll use that as a guide for what streets are rated the worst, and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, if there's any streets in your specific words that you're concerned about, be sure and let Stan know about them, and we'll take a look at them also. But I think that we want to have this list ready for the next board meeting, and we'll seek approval of it then, and we'll get moving forward with getting the grant proposal put together.
Mark, when you're working through the list, can we be sure to try to incorporate sidewalks and stormwater drainage where appropriate?
Yeah, where appropriate, we would want to do that. Yes, because the street, the stormwater and the sidewalks get paid 75-25 also, so we might as well
absolutely
make that part of the package where needed. Okay, so that's it for my report. Any questions about anything? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Okay. Comments from the council. Ron, do you have anything?
No.
Ashley, do you have anything?
No.
Dan, do you have anything?
No.
Carla?
No.
Okay, the only thing I was going to mention is that the dumpsters will be delivered Friday morning. They'll be here by noon, just so everybody has a heads up about that. And that's it. So having completed all the business of the Utility Service Board, this meeting stands adjourned. Ron?
All right. This is the October 12th monthly meeting of the Dayton Town Council. Jen already made the opening statement and did the roll call. All 5 members, our town clerk, town manager, town marshal, and attorney are still on the line, so we can proceed. First, we have the on the agenda, the town attorney. Reed, do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I just want to mention, and Reed is working on the separation of the utility office from the clerk's office. We'll schedule a separate meeting on that when he's ready, so we can work on the logistics of it and reassign office space. Now we have the claims. Jen, do you want to take over from here?
Sure. I make a motion to approve the allowance docket dated 8/1/2020 to 8/31/2020.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, a motion by Jen and a second by Carla to approve the allowance docket dated 8/31/2020. We'll take a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Then I vote yes, so the motion passes 5-0. Jen?
Sorry, I make a motion to approve the allowance docket from 9/1/2020 to 9/30/2020.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the allowance docket by Jen and a second by Carla of 9/1 to 9/30/2020. We'll take a roll call vote. Jen?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Ron, yes, so the passes 5-0.
Okay. I just want to say thanks to Ron and Stan for making copies of the invoices and the APVs for August and September, so we can approve the docket with some exceptions. We're going to be approving some things on the August claims and denying some. We'll be denying one thing because it's not authorized. We'll be denying things that are paid from utilities, which should not be paid from utilities, or denying things that no invoice was provided for. So I make a motion to deny the following claims from the August 10th claims docket. For lack of either the APV or the invoice, I move we deny net payroll, Lafayette Bank and Trust, and merchant services. For being unauthorized, I move we deny Colonial Life. For being incorrectly paid from utilities, I move we deny all invoices from Haley's Lock and Key. And as far as the mileage, I move that we deny that so that I can look into some things that have been brought to my attention.
Okay, We have a motion. We have a second.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to do what Jen just said. It's a long list. To approve the August 10th claims with certain restrictions on it, like the Colonial Life, the Haley's Lock and Key, and Bank and Trust Merchant Services. So, and we have a second by Stan, so we'll take a roll call vote. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
No.
And Ron, I vote yes, so it passes 4-1. Motion carries.
Okay, claims docket for September 14th, 2020. Let me see. So for this one, I make a motion that we deny Colonial Life because it's unauthorized, both Colonial Lives. The mileage, again. Pat McCarthy, that training was canceled, so that check is being returned to us, so I don't think we need to approve that. And that is it. So I make a motion, we approve the September claims docket with those exceptions.
Okay, we have a second.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to do the September claims docket with those exceptions that Jen talked about, and Stan seconded it. We'll have a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
No.
Ron, I vote yes, so the motion passes 4-1.
I need to go back to the August 10th. I made a motion to deny certain claims. I now make a motion to approve the rest of the August 10th claims docket.
Okay, I'll second it. We have a motion to approve the claims on August 10th that are not specifically denied. We have a second by Ron, so we'll take a roll call vote. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
Carla, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Ron, I vote yes, so it passes 5-0.
Okay, with the exception of Nate's Handyman, we don't have the invoices for the October 12th claims docket, and our internal control ordinance requires the clerk treasurer to provide the oversight documents to us at least 5 days prior to the meeting. The only one we have is for Nate's Handyman, so we can approve that one, and the others will have to wait for approval. So I make a motion to pay the invoice for Nate's Handyman dated 9/30/2020 for $140.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to pay the invoice for Nate's Handyman dated 9/30/2020, and we have a second by Stan. Motion was made by Jen. We'll take a roll call vote. Jen?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Ron, I vote yes, so the motion passes 5-0.
If Michelle gets the documents to us before our meeting on the 19th, that special meeting, we can approve the remaining claims then. And as always, Michelle can pay ahead of our approval anything that's allowed by our ordinance, but nothing else.
Okay, anything else, Jen?
You just denied saying that I'm authorized to approve, and you approved the allowance docket, but then you denied the payroll when there is no invoice for pay. You have it. It's called the allowance docket.
I didn't have the APV. You provided nothing, and you usually do. And I think the other month.
Yes, you do have it because Ron came in here and copied all of them with Stan. You just denied it for August, and you guys have had those.
Okay, we can look at it again and we'll approve it next week, okay? Is that all, Jen, that you have then?
Yeah, that was all of them.
Okay. Marshall Taylor's report. Got anything, Scott?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you've all had the activity report for September. Is there any specific questions on the activity report itself?
No.
Okay. If not, first item on my list is the RMS or report management software that we currently use. This is software that is integrated with all of the Tippecanoe County Police Departments, us, Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department, Purdue, West Lafayette. We all use this software, and they are in the process of phasing it out. They have been looking at this and studying it for the past year, and they've decided to go with a new software management company. Since we basically just piggyback onto this as a peripheral agency, we don't really have any input. We're either in it or out of it. I haven't been told what the new cost for that would be. Currently, we're paying, I believe the fee is around $1,500 a year is what we pay for our license agreements and terminal agreements for each computer that we have on the system. So I just want to give the council a heads up that is upcoming, and that I'm monitoring that. And as soon as they let me know what the cost to us will be, then I will pass that along. So any specific questions in regards to that, or something I didn't explain or could explain better?
This is Jen. Do you happen to know when you sent the activity report? Because I did not see it. I was going to go back and see if I could find it real quick. Or does anybody know when it showed up?
It would have been last week.
Okay.
Don't remember the exact day. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
It was
Thank
Thursday
you.
at 11:29.
Thursday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you find
Anything
it?
else? Good.
The Thursday one at 11:20, I just see the Halloween guidance and then your agenda. I don't see the activity report.
Okay, I'll have to look at that.
Did you get the activity report, Michelle?
No, it's not linked on there. The only link is the guidance and then the agenda.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I'll review that. Possibly I didn't get it attached properly.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. Next, any questions on the RMS system? Okay. If not, next item on my agenda is Halloween. I know there's been a lot of questions on Facebook or what we're doing for Halloween, what the town's official stance is going to be on it. I've been monitoring CDC and the state health department and the local health department and other jurisdictions to see what's their recommendations are. The CDC guidelines treat trick-or-treating as a very high-risk activity, and they don't recommend it. Our state health department has also issued some guidelines in regards to what activities and how to do those trick-or-treating activities that they recommend, but are still leaving up to local jurisdictions to decide what they want to do. Our local health department last week issued some guidance as to how they recommend people trick-or-treat, and it appears that most local jurisdictions are going to have trick-or-treating in some form or fashion. So my stance and recommendation at this point is that we set trick-or-treating hours on Halloween, Saturday, October 31st, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. I will post some links on my Facebook, and Jen can also post those same recommendations on our website for people to peruse at their leisure and get some recommendations on how to trick or treat or do trunk or treating, if that is acceptable with the council.
I think that sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll post that, and we'll plan on that October 31st from 5 p. to 8 p.m. and we'll have 2 cars working that night for extra patrol. Next item on my list is kind of an update on COVID-19, how it's affected our department. One of the key ways that it's affected us is training. I've had approximately 40 hours of training canceled this year due to the COVID, and none of this training has been scheduled for makeup. And this is state mandated training, which means I have to have it. Unfortunately, the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy in the state of Indiana has not relaxed any requirements, despite us not having the ability to find this training. Now, I've been trying to find alternative sources, such as online, and in past meetings we've approved some online training, which we are doing. But the big class that I was scheduled to take this month, that was going to be about 24 hours worth of training, was canceled. So I'm going to have to try to find that elsewhere, or hope that the state will relax some of their requirements this year. It would not surprise me if they did that, but up till now they haven't. We've had 2 officers from our part-time officers who work for other agencies have been quarantined due to exposures to asymptomatic individuals that ultimately did not test positive, but during that quarantine they could not work at their department and obviously couldn't work for us here in Dayton. That affected 2 shifts. So not a big impact, but still we had to scramble to get the shifts covered. We are well stocked on personal protective equipment. We received a large supply from the health department. This is courtesy the Department of Homeland Security. And we also received a large supply of disinfectant wipes, courtesy Ron Kohler and Cindy Marsh. So I'd like to thank them for donating those at a time where they were pretty hard to come by. The last thing that I had on my list was that I'd like to thank all the residents and well-wishers who have given us words of encouragement through this time, and also sent us refreshments and a show of support during the last couple of months. The Dayton Police Department is very thankful for Dayton residents in our community and their continued support of us during somewhat trying times. So thank you. That's all I have tonight, unless you have some more questions.
Okay.
Marshall, how do you think the new signs are working out now that we've had it up a couple of months?
I've got nothing but positive feedback from residents and everybody who has commented on them. They think they're effective. I personally have come through town many a time in my personal vehicle just to kind of monitor what traffic's doing without being in a marked police car, which can have an effect, obviously. And I've noticed without fail that everybody slows down when they see that. And I'm sure I've done it several times, because I know people will become accustomed to them and just ignore them, but I haven't experienced that yet. I still see people slowing down, and maybe they don't come down to 30, but they're definitely not going 40 and 50 through there. So I think it's made a big improvement. And our crossing guard has commented that she feels the traffic is going much slower too. So much so that some people are worried about getting rear-ended because people are stomping on the brakes so hard. So that's positive.
Scott, I agree. When I come in town, it seems like everybody slows down. And one resident's told me that they play a game with those things, that they try to get it to stay right on 30 miles an hour, but it goes from 31 to down to 28. So
yeah,
I don't know, but it does a good job, I think. Anything else then, Scott? Or
no, I don't have anything else.
okay. Anybody else got questions for Scott? All right, moving along. The next thing on the agenda is a clerk treasurer's report. I want
Hey,
to
Ron,
make.
I have one thing
Yeah.
real quick. Jen, going back to the last thing that Michelle asked you about, I just want to make sure you guys are aware that payroll is one of the listed items that could be pre-approved and paid. I just want to make sure that, if you're going to push this off, that we're not missing any payroll deadlines.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the clerk treasurer report. I want to make it clear again that we won't be approving anything that is not on the claims docket and that we haven't had for 5 days because we can't legally approve them. You sent us invoices Friday, Michelle, knowing full well that we wouldn't approve them. We need the docket, the APVs, and the invoices 5 days before, or they will not be approved. So if you have something for the meeting, go ahead. Just we're not going to do claims. So go ahead, Michelle. Thanks.
Okay. So then, since you're not going to approve this stack of claims that I have sent you, and it's not against the law, Reed has said numerous times, as you guys have done it, that you guys do not have to do the 5-day rule. And you guys have proven to pick and choose when you want to do the 5-day rule, because not throwing people under the bus, but if Scott or Mark come to you, you guys don't even see an invoice, and they sit here and say, hey, I want to buy for this amount, you can vote and approve it, and you have absolutely zero of anything in front of you. So let's just let the residents know that you guys are choosing to do the 5-day rule with me, but not with our marshal and our superintendent, when I'm the one who's sitting here paying the bills. But again, and you guys want to say this is not political retaliation. So apparently you guys are not paying both of your attorneys. You won't be paying my attorney. You will not be paying Susie Bass. You will not be paying one of Marshall Taylor's invoices either. So we're going to all make that perfectly clear. And I want to note that Jen sat here and denied payroll in August because claiming that she doesn't have an invoice, which again, it's not an invoice, it's payroll. It comes out of key payroll. But yet you didn't deny payroll in September or October. So again, you guys are picking and choosing what you do and do not want to pay. Also refusing the Haley's claim and stuff that's paid out of utilities. Again, you guys are not comprehending that the utility funds are to help pay for the stuff in the business. I cannot, and to run the operation of the business, I cannot pay for security cameras out of streets or MVH because it has nothing to do with that. So I really suggest that you all take some training, because one of the things I've done training over 2 years, and if I'm not sure of where it's come out of, I either call State Board of Accounts or I call other trusted clerk treasurers, or I've done training. So even at the beginning of the year, the new council members that were coming in, and I believe I even sent it to Reed, I sent you all a list of the different funds and what would be paid out of those funds. So again, you guys are wanting to deny claims now in October when I've been paying these bills the same for 2 years. So did Alex, and so did Ron, or I should say Lena, when Ron was clerk. So
Okay,
this is no different. And you guys, this is my time to talk. I did not interrupt you at all.
You
So
have
I want
5
the
minutes,
residents.
Michelle, and your time is up almost. So you got
No,
30
I
minutes.
don't. I've not been talking for 5 minutes. Thank you. Also, I need the council to know that with Reed's invoices, that again, you guys are not approving to pay, his monthly invoice for last month was $6,619 just for his hourly. And then he also submitted his final quarterly payment, which is $3,025. Last month, you guys did an amended salary ordinance where Reed upped his fees to be so-called budgeted for $45,000. Well, Reed, you need to re-end the salary ordinance again because with 2 invoices, you just passed $45,000 for the year, and we still have 3 months worth of payments. So you guys need to amend the salary ordinance again because you have over your upped amount in a month. Also,
Okay.
yes, you guys do. You guys, and I've already explained this last month, that, and I've already talked to my attorney, and I have let you guys know, just because you did the internal controls, you still cannot dictate how records are provided. And I've told you guys this, and you and Stan had absolutely no problem coming in here for days, copying all of the receipts and all of the APVs. And that's the way it's going to continue to be. I'm not scanning. They are available for inspection. If you want hard copies, then you can come and copy them as you wish. But since you guys refused to let me have it in deputy and you took away the person that helped me, I've got more important things to do. Again, you can come and make the copies. So you guys are refusing to pay these claims. We are already 90 days past due, and you guys are still
All right,
playing
Michelle,
games.
your 5 minutes is up. Do you have anything else instead of this? We will have a meeting
I'm just
next
being
Monday.
transparent with the residents. It's my job.
Hopefully we can wrap up. We've been asking for months. We don't have minutes for, you're not doing your job. We don't have the minutes for last month that we should have okayed tonight.
I am doing the stuff that would get me fined and penalized. That's more important than dealing with your game.
Michelle, we don't have a lot of stuff. We came in, I agree.
You have a lot.
We came into that office and copied things and copied them relatively quick. Then you griped and said how long it took. And Jen, would you please mute her so she won't interrupt me? And then Michelle, you went ahead and I brought a pack of papers back up and I lost the rubber band and you bitched at me because I lost a rubber band. Then you scolded me and everything because I said some ink was in color, that it does come out right. And you yelled at me all the way back down the hall till I got in the back office. So I am not going to come up there and take that verbal harassing abuse from you anymore. That's why we have an internal ordinance, and we'd probably save 100 hours if you would just do your job and spend the half hour and send them to us. And if not, then we'll go to court, I guess. So anything else do you have? Well, no, we're going to move on. Any comments from the council members?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, Stan or Jen, whoever wants to go first.
Okay. I was just going to say that I denied payroll not because there was not an invoice, but because there was not an APV. All the other months I have APVs for payroll. So perhaps I misspoke.
That's not my fault.
Perhaps I misspoke, but the reason was because of the APV. I realized there's not an invoice for payroll. I'd also like to make a note that we don't have the minutes from at least a dozen meetings going back to January. And like Ron said, the meetings from September, we actually have an ordinance that says the minutes should be provided to us before the meeting. And obviously that's not happening. Not only are we not getting the oversight documents, we're not getting minutes either. And we hired Susie Bass to help Michelle with the bank recs so we could get the bank recs and be able to approve the appropriation reports, revenue reports, and everything else. Susie found a ton of mistakes that the bank recs that made the bank recs not balance in 2018, 2019, and 2020. So I'm looking forward to getting things up to date finally and getting all the reports we were supposed to be approving each month. That's all I wanted to say.
Jen, can I address the thing with Susie Bass? Can I speak specifically?
I think that's up to Ron.
Well, first of all, you're a downright liar. She found 5 mistakes
that's
for
enough.
me.
We're not calling
No.
each other.
You're being lies. I did not yell at you down the hallway. I don't even speak to you when you and Stan are in this building. So quit lying. You would not know how to tell the truth if
Hey,
it
Jen,
smacked
would you
you
mute
in
her,
the
please?
face.
We're not going to get into a lying thing here. Okay, any other council members have any comments to make?
Yes,
Stan?
this is Stan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask Ashley a question. Ashley, did you tell another Dayton council member that you felt that we are a zit on Lafayette's ass? Is that what you think of Dayton?
I'm sorry, Stan. I say that again.
Did you tell another council member that you think we are a zit on Lafayette's ass?
That is not what I think. That is a expression that has been used by other people in reference to the town of Dayton thinking, you know, the tail wagging the dog. You know, we seem to think
you repeat that to other people, haven't you? You think of that, and you're a council member of Dayton representing people?
No, Stan.
And you just screw the town for ever getting federal funds again. So I think you're worse than Ashley. We'll never another federal.
So we are a very, very, very small town in a very, very large county next to two other very, very large towns. Okay, so you know the expression is that we are a pimple compared to other towns are in our area. Okay, and for this town council to think that they can just sit out here and dictate and such with no repercussions from county and state officials in town of city of Lafayette and West Lafayette is very naive thinking. The town of Dayton is a great town. Our residents are great people. This board needs to stand back a few feet and see the big picture, rather they'll say you can't see the trees because of the forest. This meeting is a perfect example of that.
Ashley, you keep putting those big buildings up there and we'll never even see the front of Dayton anymore. Anything else, Stan?
Well, that's all I have.
Put any big buildings up there. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait another year. You see what buildings are up there, Ashley. So
yeah, we'll see.
Anybody else got any comments?
Ron, I just have one thing.
Yeah.
On the 5-day rule, I believed that, as has always been done, that the town council could approve claims that are not filed with the 5 days, even though the law requires the claims to be filed, that they could waive that requirement. I have looked into it. I have not found anything that supports my original thinking on it. And so everyone, including Mark and the town marshal, in my opinion, now need to file claims 5 days before.
You there?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree, Mark, to be safe, because none of us are exactly completely sure. It would be a good idea, and we're requesting that we get these 5 days ahead of time. I've been around a lot up here, and a lot of the old councils, we did things that were kosher and not kosher and whatever, but we weren't in this political climate where some people actually call up the state police and turn you in for something. So we want to follow. I would think everybody'd be glad that we adhere to as many rules as we can. If we accidentally break some, we'll make every change we humanly possible that we can to change us. We're not doing anything purposely on purpose, but 5 days would be, from now on, would be the norm. And then everybody has time to look everything over. And heck, I remember when councils wouldn't even open their packets up and we'd have a meeting and they'd approve something. I was thought, but that doesn't mean that we should do that now. So anyway, I agree with you. The 5 days, we'll adhere to it. So
Reed, I have a quick question. Do you have that rule in front of you by a chance?
Yes.
Does it say that the detailed invoice claim needs to be submitted to the clerk treasurer 5 days before a meeting or the town council 5 days before a meeting?
The town council.
And can you give that code or statute that you're looking at?
511.10.2, I believe, but there's so 36.544 then references chapter 5. Just one second.
Because I know I've read other places where it says that a claim should not be paid until a detailed invoice or voucher or claim is submitted to the clerk treasurer. It does not say the town council.
How about Reed, if you want to give her that email or that information tomorrow, I'll give you time to look it up. So
I can look it up myself. That's why I asked.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, okay.
I've been looking at all of this, but I am not finding that specific statute right now.
I'd like to add one little thing or a couple of things. The utilities now, the reason we're real concerned, I think Jen hit on this earlier, a lot of things, the council has the right to say where the things are paid from, at least discuss them and everything, because we're finding out as we're looking at a lot of these utility payments in the past that we don't think that tens and tens of thousands of dollars should be taken out of the utilities. We think it's being done and it's draining the utilities, and whether because we made a political promise or a campaign promise that we're going to lower those utilities or what, but that's why Steve Brock, when he researches everything, will know where our utilities come out, and if we at all possible, this council will try to lower those utilities. But we got to be sure that there aren't monies that used to be taken out of general fund and stuff are now all out of utilities. So we'll have a master list. We'll go over them. Michelle or anybody, we can all argue back and forth. But this is one thing that's really important. We don't want to just okay bills when they're out of the wrong areas. I think the other thing is our budget work session. Remind everybody, our work session will be next Monday at 6 o'clock. That's where the council will make changes and discuss everything. The public is welcome also. And then we get it ready with the changes for the approval budget meeting the week after that. So anybody else have anything? If not, we'll
Ron, can I just finish this?
Yeah,
discussion with Michelle real quick. So Indiana Code Section 36544 states A, except as provided in Section 12, which is the pre-approvement payment of claims, the town legislative body or a board of the town may allow a claim, 1, only at a meeting of the legislative body or board, and 2, only if the claim was filed in the manner prescribed by IC 511-10-2 at least 5 days before the meeting. A town officer who violates this section forfeits his office.
Okay, there you go. So.
Okay, and then what is under 511-10-2? So that says under the rules of the code.
511-10-2 just describes the manner for filing a claim, but I've already addressed that it has to be filed with the town council because they are the one that's required for approval. And I also sent you the Hinsom Camp versus Sellyville town council case, which discusses both the statutes, and that's where a town clerk treasurer filed a claim against the town councilor for violating the statute and tried to get them removed from office, and then the judge said, no, you can't do that. But that's all I have.
We
You can
all
take a
know
look
that
at the statute.
You can't get an elected official out of office unless they can get convicted of a felony. So.
Okay.
I'll read the case.
I know the case.
Guys, the 5-day rule is a good rule. It doesn't hurt anybody, gives everybody time to have a decent chance to look everything over. So thank you, Reed, and thanks everybody. especially thanks to Jen putting these 3 meetings together. It takes a lot of effort and time on her part. So I appreciate that. We all appreciate it. So there's no other business. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.